Elon Musk tried 7 times to reach you, and each time the message slipped through some crack in the world, lost behind notifications, overlooked in your inbox, buried under the ordinary clutter of an ordinary day. But nothing that is meant for you can stay hidden forever. And so here it is now, placed right in front of you, this idea, this spark, this invitation disguised as a simple sentence: open it immediately. Not because it's urgent in the usual sense, not because someone is waiting on the other side with a demand or an instruction, but because the universe sometimes knocks softly before it knocks loudly, and this is one of those taps on your shoulder, asking whether you are ready to step into the version of yourself you've been postponing. Imagine, for a moment, why someone like Elon Musk, not the man specifically, but the symbol of relentless ambition, stubborn dreams, and an almost unreasonable belief in the impossible, would try 7 times to reach you. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but 7 relentless attempts. Nobody puts in that kind of effort unless they believe there is something inside you that the world doesn't fully know yet. Something you haven't acknowledged, or something you've tried to hide because being capable is frightening. Being powerful is frightening. Being destined for more is frightening. But that doesn't make it any less true. Maybe you've spent years trying to convince yourself that the dreams you carry are unrealistic. Maybe someone told you once that your ideas were too big, and you believed them. Maybe you've been waiting for the right time that somehow never arrives. Maybe you think success is for other people. People with resources, people with connections, people with special advantages. People who get called by billionaires 7 times in a row. But consider this: what if the very fact that you feel unprepared, unsure, or unqualified is the proof that you are exactly the kind of person who changes the world? What if greatness always feels premature? What if no inventor, no dreamer, no visionary ever felt ready when their moment arrived? The world never sends invitations printed on gold. It sends quiet nudges, strange coincidences, subtle signs, messages that appear out of nowhere, moments that ask, "Are you paying attention?" This message is one of those moments, because life is not waiting for the polished, perfect, fully self-assured version of you. It's waiting for the you who exists right now, the one with doubts, the one with fears, the one who has been underestimated, the one who has been waiting for a sign that they are allowed to begin. And sometimes the sign is simply a voice whispering, "Open it immediately." Think of the 7 attempts. The number itself matters. 7 is persistence. 7 is resilience. 7 is the universe trying again and again because it knows humans ignore the first nudge. Dismiss the second, question the third, rationalize away the fourth, promise to pay attention to the fifth, forget the sixth, and finally, listen on the 7th. You are here at that 7th moment, and this is the point where everything can shift. What if this is the first day of the rest of your life? People say that all the time, but for once, take the idea seriously. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the awareness that this moment, this exact one, was the hinge on which your future began to swing open. What if you decided, right now, that you are done shrinking? What if you decided that the dreams you've been carrying aren't burdens but blueprints? What if you realized that the things you want aren't random desires but signals of who you are capable of becoming? There is a version of you that scares you because it is too powerful, too impressive, too bold. You've glimpsed them in rare moments, times when you acted decisively, times when you surprised yourself, times when you rose to an occasion you didn't think you were ready for. That version of you is real. That version of you is not a fantasy, not an accident, not a glitch in your otherwise average story. That version of you is the truth trying to break through. Elon Musk tried 7 times to reach you because people like him recognize something instinctively. Greatness often hides in ordinary places. Extraordinary potential often sits disguised in people who underestimate themselves. The world's next innovators, leaders, creators, thinkers, problem solvers are not always the loud ones, the obvious ones, the confident ones. They are often the ones who sit quietly with brilliant minds, with restless ambition, with unspoken dreams, waiting for a door to open, waiting for someone to believe in them, waiting for a reason to finally move. But here's the secret: you don't need someone like Elon Musk to believe in you. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need validation. You don't need encouragement from someone famous. You don't need the world to applaud you before you take your first step. You need only one thing: you need to stop postponing your future. Open it immediately means this: stop waiting, waiting for the right resources, waiting for the right mood, waiting for the right confidence, waiting for the right timing, waiting for someone else to see your worth, waiting for fear to disappear, waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning. None of that is coming. Not the way you expect. Not in one dramatic moment. Life doesn't work like a movie montage. It works through small choices, consistent effort, willingness to endure failure, and the courage to keep going even when you don't know where the road leads. Every person you admire started with uncertainty. They didn't know whether their ideas would work. They didn't know whether people would laugh. They didn't know whether they were wasting their time. They didn't know whether they were destined for success or for spectacular failure, but they opened the door when opportunity knocked, not because they were fearless, but because they were tired of being controlled by fear. Your fear has been talking for too long. And it speaks fluent excuses. It whispers all the reasons you should wait, all the reasons you might fail, all the reasons you aren't enough. But fear is a terrible advisor. Fear has only one perspective: protection. It doesn't care whether you live fully. It doesn't care whether you reach your potential. It doesn't care whether your ideas could change your life or even the world. Fear just wants to keep you safe in the smallest possible version of yourself. But you were not made for smallness. You were not born to hide your brilliance under layers of self-doubt. You were not designed to drift through life without discovering the magnitude of what you can do. You were not built for mediocrity. You were built for impact. Maybe not the kind that changes the world on a global scale, but certainly the kind that changes your world. And when someone changes their own world, even a little, they inevitably touch the world around them more than they realize. Open it immediately means this: give yourself permission. Permission to try. Permission to explore. Permission to fail. Permission to succeed beyond anything you imagined. Permission to be someone other than the version of yourself that others expect. Permission to be someone whose life is shaped by choice, not circumstance. What if you took your dream seriously? Imagine that for a moment. Imagine treating your vague desires like official plans. Imagine treating your ideas like responsibilities instead of fantasies. Imagine acting like the universe personally handed you a mission. Imagine realizing that the things you want are the things you were meant to pursue. There is a silent war inside every person, the war between who they are and who they know they could be. Most people surrender to the version that is comfortable. Few choose the version that is exceptional. And the only difference between them is the willingness to open the metaphorical door when life keeps knocking. 7 times is not a coincidence. 7 times is a pattern. 7 times is insistence. 7 times is a message trying to reach you through the noise. And if someone like Musk symbolizes anything, it is the principle of relentless pursuit. You don't try 7 times unless you believe the message matters. This message matters. It matters because you have been waiting for a spark. You have been hungry for something you cannot quite name. You have felt the quiet dissatisfaction that comes from knowing you are living below your true capacity. You have sensed the tension between your life as it is and your life as it could be. You have occasionally felt the whisper of ambition telling you that you were meant for more. But you have pushed that whisper aside because ambition without direction feels like a burden. And direction without action feels like a dream you will never chase. But open it immediately means that direction arrives the moment you decide to act. Action doesn't require certainty. It requires willingness. Imagine the next 5 years of your life. Imagine how they could unfold if, starting today, you decided you were done with hesitation. Imagine what you could build. Imagine what skills you could learn. Imagine what version of yourself could exist by then. 5 years is an enormous span, long enough to transform entirely, short enough that it will pass in the blink of an eye if you do nothing. If you do nothing, 5 years will look identical to now. But if you begin, today, now, then 5 years from now you might be unrecognizable. In the best possible way. Stronger. Smarter. Bolder. More capable. More alive. More fulfilled. More aligned with the life you actually want, and the world will not ask whether you were qualified. It will not ask whether you were ready. It will not ask whether you were confident. It will only respond to what you do. Success is indifferent to your insecurities. It cares only about your persistence. Think again about why the message comes from someone like Musk. The point is not the man, it is the metaphor. He represents people who persist despite ridicule. People who try again after falling again. People who bet on themselves when nobody else is willing. People who make decisions based on vision, not approval. People who execute ideas that seem too large for one lifetime. People who refuse to wait for someone else to validate their dreams. That energy is what is calling you. This isn't about building rockets or electric cars or multi-billion-dollar companies. It's about the energy of someone who refuses to live small. The energy of someone who doesn't shy away from impossible goals. The energy of someone who would try 7 times because the 8th time might be the breakthrough. The energy of someone who is not afraid of the scale of their ambition. That energy is available to you. Inspiration is not a scarce resource. Motivation is not reserved for a chosen few. Vision is not genetic. Courage is not inherited. Every trait you admire in someone else exists in you in some dormant form. It awakens when you move. Open it immediately means movement. Even the smallest step counts. All transformation begins with small steps that look insignificant. The first day in the gym. The first page of a book. The first paragraph of a business idea. The first minute of meditation. The first attempt at a new skill. The first dollar saved. The first honest conversation. The first break from an old pattern. The first decision to stop tolerating a life that drains you. Every big story starts with a small beginning. And that beginning is usually quiet, humble, easily overlooked. But not by you. Not anymore. You are here. You are awake enough to read this. You are aware enough to sense that something is stirring inside you. You are receptive enough to understand that this message is not random. And you are brave enough to imagine a future that looks different from your past. So now imagine this. What if, from this moment forward, you acted as though the universe personally assigned you a mission? What if you lived like your dreams were instruction manuals rather than wish lists? What if you behaved like every obstacle was preparing you for the success you asked for? What if you understood that your struggles are the training ground for your future self? What if you recognized that everything you've survived so far proves that you are capable of surviving everything you haven't faced yet? Open it immediately means gratitude for your own resilience. You have already overcome things that would have broken other people. You have endured losses, failures, heartbreaks, disappointments, rejections, frustrations. You have made it through nights where you questioned your worth. You have continued despite the heaviness that sometimes settles on your spirit. You have risen from situations designed to keep you down. You have walked through fire and wounds and fears, and still you are here. If that is not proof of strength, what is? Strength isn't always loud. Strength is quiet endurance. Strength is choosing to try again. Strength is refusing to accept that your story ends in mediocrity. Strength is opening the message after the 7th attempt, even if the first 6 times you ignored it. You may not feel powerful, but power is not an emotion. Power is a decision. Open it immediately means decide. Decide to honor the dreams you've buried. Decide to pursue the future you secretly crave. Decide to become someone who inspires even yourself. Decide to create, build, try, begin, fail, and begin again. Decide to stop waiting for someone else to see your potential. Decide to stop weakening yourself with doubt. Decide to stop letting fear make decisions for you. Decide to rise. Because one day you will look back at this moment. You will remember reading these words. And you will say, that was the moment everything changed. That was when I stopped hesitating. That was when I recognized the voice inside me that had been whispering for years. That was when I realized nobody was coming to save my future. That was when I understood that I am the one who must act. The message was not meant to flatter you. It was meant to awaken you. Even right now, you might feel something, a tightness in your chest, a feeling of urgency, a sense of possibility, a strange mix of discomfort and excitement. That feeling is the door opening. It is the awareness that you could do something extraordinary if you simply committed to the path. Don't let that feeling fade. If you ignore it, it will quiet down. But if you nurture it, if you act on it, it will grow. It will become momentum. It will become identity. It will become destiny. Destiny is not a mystery. Destiny is a consequence. It is the outcome of the choices you make repeatedly. So choose. Choose ambition instead of fear. Choose action instead of excuses. Choose growth instead of comfort. Choose persistence instead of discouragement. Choose the unknown instead of the familiar. Choose the version of yourself that scares you because they are too brilliant. Open it immediately is not an external command. It is an internal shift. A switch turning on. A voice inside you saying, I am ready. Even if I don't feel ready, I am willing. And willingness is enough. From today forward, live as if the 7th message finally reached you. Live as if the world has been trying to tell you something important. Live as if your dreams are messages you must respond to. Live as if opportunity is knocking with persistence because your time has come, and when the world asks how you started, you will say, I opened it immediately. And maybe the most important truth of all is this: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are standing at the exact point where your life can pivot, where the smallest decision can alter the entire trajectory of everything that comes next. You are not defined by what you didn't start earlier. You are defined by what you choose to start now. The world does not reward those who had perfect timing from the beginning. It rewards those who choose to begin even after years of hesitation. It rewards those who rise when they could have stayed down, those who choose courage when comfort is easier, those who act even when nothing guarantees success. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of that decision, hoping you will finally choose the path that leads to them. And maybe you've forgotten this, but the world needs you. Truly. Not in a superficial way, not in a motivational poster way, but in the real sense that the world evolves only when people like you step forward. There are ideas that only you can bring. There are solutions that only you can see. There are people who will be inspired, healed, or uplifted because you dared to become who you were meant to be. You might think your dreams are small, but to someone else they will be a lighthouse. You might think your efforts are invisible, but to someone else they will be proof that hope is still alive. So let this be the moment where you stop apologizing for wanting more. Let this be the moment where you stop pretending your heart doesn't pull you towards something greater. Let this be the moment where you stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. Let this be the moment where you step into the fullness of who you are. Everything that has happened in your life, every setback, every victory, every heartbreak, every lesson, has shaped you for what comes next. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Every part of your story is an ingredient in the future you are about to build, and when the doubts return, and they will, remember this: courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the act of choosing something bigger than fear. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. You don't need perfect confidence to take imperfect action. You don't need certainty to move forward. You only need the willingness to try, to begin, to take a single step in the direction of the life that calls to you. This is your 8th attempt. The one that counts. The one that lands. The one you won't ignore. You have been reached, not by a person, but by a realization. Your life is waiting on you. Your future is waiting on you. Everything you desire is waiting on you to open the door. So open it. Open it completely. Open it with all the hunger, all the hope, all the quiet strength you have been carrying for years. Open it because this is your time. Open it because you finally understand that nobody is coming to give you permission. Open it because the only person who can transform your life is you, and someday, you will look back at this moment with a knowing smile. You will say, "That was the day I finally answered the call. That was the day I stopped running from my own potential. That was the day I opened the message the world kept trying to send me. That was the day I began."